just want to make sure that the back row hear me. And you clearly have to stay. So on the very last speaker, I'm actually negative 18 minutes. So I actually deliver my speech in negative.
And we're okay with time. We made an adjustment, so.
I just want to say, you know, I've spent a long time as a business school dean. One of the things you learn is at this time, your attention span should be close to 0. Just because you have been sitting for over 2.5 hours. One thing as a speaker you learn is to gauge your audience, where they are, what is of interest to them. And one of the principles of an audience is that the mind only lasts as long as your largest muscle can endure. Okay? Where is your largest muscle? You are sitting on it. So at this point, I just want everybody just to stand up for 1 second, say hi. Raise your hand if that's of interest to you. Getting an internship. Higher. So I just want to say I have no question that you will get an internship. I guarantee it, actually. And I'll tell you why. The fact that you are here on a Saturday morning to devote anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of your time reflect a certain discipline, reflect certain effort that will allow you to get what you need. You will get an internship, so don't worry about it. Right? The second question I bet some of you may have is bigger question down the road. Will I succeed? Right? And an internship is just 1 step in the journey of succeeding. And I just want to say, I would bet for this group you will succeed. Not only because of what you're doing to just get an internship in here, but I noticed something that I want to point out to you because I think that is so precious. All this time, the 2 hours and 20 minutes you're here, I did not see anybody working on their iPhone or iPad. You didn't go on the internet, you didn't start tweeting, you didn't start searching other things. There was an incredible show of civility, of manners, and of appreciation for the speakers. In most audiences nowadays, even in corporate meetings, people will be working on their mobile devices while other people are speaking. You never did that. And I just want to say that type of behavior is about consideration, right? It's a consideration for other people. You could be doing other things, but at the same time, you paid attention to the panelists. That type of consideration, which is the capacity for other people, is very important for succeeding. So I want to congratulate you. I want to note that. I want you to know that it makes a difference, and people who are on the receiving side notice that. Right? That's the second statement. The third statement, I think there is a word that's been born morning, and it's the word impact. Will you make an impact? Well, that's a really, really big word. And what does impact mean? But I just want to say on one level, I think the very minute that you spend your energy thinking of another person, and then you follow through with that thought with an action, you will make an impact. So just remember that. So long as you spend some energy thinking about someone else other than yourself, and then you take an action to follow through, you will have an impact on that particular person. And the world is changed one person at a time. So to that question, the answer is, you know what to do. Okay? The fourth thing is the word leader. You know, it says transformative leadership. Will you be a leader? That I cannot tell you yet. I think leadership requires a set of characteristics which, you know, sitting here with you, honestly, I cannot tell. Right? We're going to talk about that in the Q&A session, so I'm just going to put that aside. The fifth thing is this word transformative. Transformative, that's another big word. So, in my experience, and I've worked with a lot of students in my life, I've been teaching since 1970s, I've faced a lot of students in my life. And this is quite just that Notre Dame, we actually have 98% placement for stuff we place almost every one of our students. But going back to sort of like, what is transformation? And what does it take to transform a student, or for you to be transformed? I just want to cite 4 verbs. And I want you to remember those 4 verbs. The first verb is to see. The second verb is to care. The third verb is to learn. The fourth verb is to act. You got to see problems. You got to see beyond the community that you are in. You got to see on a broader scale. If you notice, if you start seeing, that's the first step of transformation. You can't transform something you don't care about. You can care about something that you don't see. Right? So number 1 is open your eyes, learn to see. But seeing is not enough. You got to own the problem, and that is when you learn to care. The third one is caring is not good enough, particularly for such an intellectual audience. You got to study, you got to understand the classics, and you got to understand where the solutions are beyond today's solutions, because today's solutions produce today's problems. Right? So that learning is critical, and you're in that part of the journey. And the fourth part is you got to act. You got to do something, and just like Stacy said, you don't have to go overseas. You could be an advocate. You could go to see a congressman, which we could ask students to do. You could write a journal entry. You could write a blog. You could change your consumer habits. There are lots of things you could do. You could plan or attend a vigil for something. But to transform, to be transformed, is those 4 verbs: to see, to care, to learn, and to act. That's my 5th point, if you are empowered. Right? The 6th point, I think it is very important now in today's world to deal with what we call polarities. And there are things that seem to sound opposite. Where people generally ask, should I be a generalist or should I be a specialist? The answer is both. Right? Should I worry about my student loans or should I go into service? Both. You should worry about your student loans, you're responsible for them, while you're thinking about service. Should I think about financial security or should I just volunteer service? It's both. Right? So the whole idea of clarity, should I go into service or should I go into business? And actually nowadays, a lot of nonprofits and a lot of grants require the nonprofits to be able to collaborate with business. So think both, right? So my 6th point is that a lot of times we want clarity. Tell me that I don't have to do this, I can be deep, but I don't have to be broad. Actually, it's a T. Organizations and people now are expected to be T organizations, and that is there is sufficient depth and knowledge that allows you to be a specialist in some ways, but you must also generate a perspective to understand other functions, to understand other parts of the sixth thing I want to mention is remember the importance of managing both. The word versus, V-E-R-S-U-S, is not a very useful word. It's not useful in terms of building a community, it's not. So think about managing polarity and the word and. The seventh point I want to make is, it's not good enough just to care. It's not good enough just to want the common good. You got to serve the common good with uncommon excellence. Read that with you. Some of you talk about the red race. Who wants a red race? Okay, so I just want to say the red race is in the not-for-profit world as well as in the for-profit world. You will be naive to think that while the not-for-profit world is really this hunting family. All right? And so I don't know what red race means, but I just want you to know in terms of work cultures and so on, these type of stereotypes are inaccurate. The next thing I want to say is that the red race is generalistic, not just about the other people. It's also about you. We think about the red race as the other people who are competitive, the other people who are not cooperative, the other people who have one-up personship. Okay? Just think about you contribute to the red race by your attitude and your behavior as much as other people do. So it does take culture. It is both the culture and the individual. That's my 9th point. Right? Then my 10th point is, I think most people, particularly in a group like this, where you are getting an education, you already clear certain bars, you have certain intellectual capabilities, you have certain education. Whether you succeed or not, it's not just about your native capabilities because you have those. It's not just about whether you have the education or the credentials. You will get those. It's not about whether you care or not, because if you didn't care, you would not be part of this audience. But at that point, success depends on fear. There are people who can keep growing and going into new and uncharted territory. They can leave the comfort zone. There are people who cannot leave the comfort zone. So my 10th point about you is that each of us has to face our fears. I mean, there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of new situations. There are some who will say yes, despite their fears. There are some who will say no. And I just want to say, when we were kids, we weren't given a choice. We were home, we were sent to first grade, and we had to buy a bus. Nobody said to you, feel comfortable going to this new thing, this new thing, or just get the bus and there you go. And before you know it, you're in first grade. Nobody asked you whether you really want to go to high school with all of these other 14, 15-year-old kind of insecure, mean-spirited, sort of prickish type people. They didn't ask you, they just put you on a bus and they went, all right? So I just want to say, coming back, looking at a lot of different people's performance, and so from how far you go in life is really check your own fears. Right? So those are my 10 points to you. I just wanted to have about 3 sentences about Catholic Relief Services. Catholic Relief Services is the international arm of the U.S. Catholic Church to serve the people in the world who are in need. That's the first sentence. Okay, so we're part of the U.S. Church. We serve those people. Second sentence, we're in about 100 of the toughest countries. We serve about 130 million people, and our work is very broad, from relief to stabilization that includes shelter, education, health, sanitation, food, and then bigger issues such as food security, water management systems, peace. Right? That's the second sentence. The third sentence about CRS is that we serve on the basis of need, not on the basis of creed. We're in a lot of countries where there are hardly any Christians, sometimes 1%. But that is not the criterion. So we serve on the basis of need, not on the basis of creed, and our foundation principle is actually not just about human rights. It's about a vision of how God is in everybody's life. And it is that vision that drives all our work. Thank you very much.